Hi, welcome to Season 2, Episode 9 of The Weekly Wave. I'm Matthew Lyons.
And I'm Aaron Johnson.
And our special guest here today is State Representative Alyson Sullivan. How are you?
Good. How are you, gentlemen?
I'm doing great. Yeah.
Very, very excited to be here with you guys.
We're excited to have you.
Yes. Thank
you.
you.
It's a wonderful week, and I'm just happy to dive right into this.
Yeah.
Perfect. Me too.
So, my first question, how has living in Abington helped you?
Helped me be a successful state legislator
Yes.
in a tremendous amount of ways. You know, this is where I grew up. This is where I went to school. I know hundreds of people within the town of Abington. I played sports in Abington, go to church in Abington. So you have your base roots here. My family has been embedded in Abington for over 34 years now at this point. So it's a great small town feel, as you guys know, being here in Abington. And having that support system here is a great base.
Thank you.
Awesome. So what was your reason for becoming a state legislator? Because honestly, all the jobs, that's such a unique and awesome thing to be. I just want to know the reason behind it.
So there's a multiple reasons as to why I ran for state rep. One of them is that my father actually held the seat 24 years ago at this point. And seeing what he did in the district itself is, big shoes to fill. But that's where he started his political career. And public service itself is something that I always felt a calling to do.
That's awesome.
Some people choose to go into the military. Some people choose to go into public safety and first responders. And even in, teaching or within the hospital setting, I chose to decide to run for a political office. So I think there's a need for fresh faces and fresh voices within the state legislature.
Yeah.
What are the downsides of being a political figure?
So I wouldn't really say there's downsides to being a political figure. I think with being a political figure, you got to remember that people are going to be constantly looking at you and judging your every move that you make.
Oh, yeah.
So, being a young single woman, it's sometimes a little bit more difficult being a legislator in public office because you're constantly in high demand. So.
Yeah.
You have to make sure you're there for your district and showing up to different events within the district and even outside of the district as far as the Commonwealth statewide. So I know I've been able to attend scout, ceremonies and also different ceremonies at the senior center within the high school. And so it's very demanding in that sense. So your kind of private life becomes all public.
Yeah.
That must be scary.
It is. It's a little bit intimidating, but it's such a rewarding job that it's worth those little bits of being so public and open. But I don't think there's a downside. You get to help people. We're constantly getting phone calls from the district and constituents within the district in regards to issues that they have, and being able to assist those people and make their days or their lives a little bit easier is such a rewarding feeling. So it overshadows any type of downfalls, if you may.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, of course.
Do you have any proposals or bills in the work right now? Or?
So there's a few different legislation priorities that I've been working on. I gave my maiden speech around domestic violence and the opioid crisis. So I filed legislation in the House that would expand tools to our local law enforcement and opioid task force to allow law enforcement officers to hand out Narcan to families and individuals suffering from the opioid crisis. I've also been a strong supporter of our governor's dangerousness bill, which would expand pretty much the way we handle very dangerous people in our criminal justice system and strengthening the violations if they were to violate their probation or parole requirements. And then I've also been a very huge, strong supporter of our non-disclosure bill that would ban non-disclosure agreements when dealing with sexual harassment and sexual assault within the workplace here in the Commonwealth. So there's quite a bit that I filed, but those are pretty much the main three that I've been very openly and outspoken about.
All right, thank you. It's great.
Yeah.
I'd love to see it.
Yeah.
Those are great issues.
They definitely are. So the governor
on.
filed, the legislation around the dangerousness, and then
Yeah.
Senator DeZaglio, she filed legislation in regards to non-disclosure agreements. So not always are they the bills you file yourself, but you can become a lead, spokesperson for certain legislation, even if it's not something that you filed.
Yeah. So would you say you're like the main woman for that the NDA?
Well, Diana DeZagalo, she's the one who actually filed it.
Yeah.
She's a senator. And then I've taken the lead on the House side and advocating in regards to the non-disclosure agreements. But there is ample amount of colleagues of mine who are very outspoken in regards to the non-disclosure agreements and banning them within the use of public funding, funded settlements around sexual harassment and sexual assault within the workplace. And that's, I mean, if you want me to elaborate a little bit on what that is, it would be.
Yeah, absolutely.
So non-disclosure agreement is attached to a settlement agreement. So if you work for the Commonwealth of Massachusetts and you were to openly speak about your boss or someone within your employment sexually harassing you or sexually having any type of misconduct towards you, if you were to leave that employer, specifically public government, we would settle your case with public funds because that's how we fund our public government.
Yeah.
So we're trying to take away that and give more transparency so that you as individuals who are voting for state legislators or state senators or governors or whoever it may be, there's more transparency on who you're electing and who they're employing and the caliber of people in the sense of the morale in the workforce. So we're trying to make sure that we're protecting victims and not protecting the perpetrators in the way it stands right now.
That's great. I love seeing the tides shift because even in Hollywood, you see that.
The MeToo movement.
Yeah.
It's just been a lot of progression over the last decade, and I know I haven't really been that old to really understand it, but now that I'm learning about it now that I'm older, it's just awesome to see that people are actually coming out and saying things, and we got legislation that's being passed.
Being comfortable in order to change that topic. So I know it's sometimes uncomfortable to have those conversations around sexual assault or domestic violence or even misconduct within the workplace because so many times in history we've seen that the victim's been blamed. And instead of taking action against the person that's actually doing the wrongful doing, we're so quick to say, well, what was she wearing? Or what was she doing? Or what was he doing? And what was he wearing? Almost this instant victim blaming. So we're trying to change that conversation in ways that we empower women and men, because it happens to both, to be able to come forward and feel comfortable, to be able to come forward and know that they're not going to be the ones that are being reprimanded by ways of losing your job or being moved around. It should be handled with the perpetrator and that person being addressed instead of the victim being addressed.
Awesome.
It's going to be cool to see how our generation, how we kind of move forward with that.
Yes.
And how we
I'm excited to see what your generation does.
Yeah.
We're a lot more outspoken, I think. I mean, at least with our feelings and stuff like that. I've noticed that, even the influence of social media, it's just everyone's kind of putting their feelings and thoughts and emotions, and if something happens, then they're not afraid to speak out against it now.
Correct. Yeah.
Which is awesome.
It worries me sometimes with how much social media you guys have.
Oh, I know.
But at the same token, it gives you a platform to really, speak your voice and have your story heard. So that's important too.
Yeah. What's it like being a woman in such a male-dominated field?
It's interesting. I do get the respect that I deserve. I got elected just like my male counterparts have. I've been able to serve on great committees within the House of Representatives, even though being a freshman female rep. Mm-hmm. You meet challenges just like any job, I believe. But I believe that the way that the House likes to look at us is we are equals, aside from, non-disclosure agreements that I'm pushing for. But, I think that there's so many more females getting elected that we're actually changing that dynamic. So you're seeing less and less of there being such a gap between our male counterparts and our female counterparts. And to see that that we're appointing women to have chair positions within committees I think it's super important as well.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Great. Do you have any more questions? Or?
I just have one quick question. This is a personal question.
Sure.
Did you run for class president in high school or now?
No.
Interesting.
So, I've always been a very outspoken person.
Yeah.
However, I didn't really get into politics in high school, college, or even law school. I kind of took a back step on that. And I was very vocal on things that I thought should change within the school or within, high school, college, or even law school. But with, college and law school, I was also working a full-time job. So I'm of the caliber, if you can't commit, the time that's needed, then I shouldn't be doing it. So that was one of my conflicts when I decided to run for state rep. I wanted to make sure I had the time and the availability to actually give it my all.
Yeah.
I didn't want to give it half of me. I wanted to give it all. And I was a going into my final year of law school, working full-time for the state, and then running for state rep. So I knew that I had to do it because it was my calling, but it was definitely something that, you teeter with because of the fact of the time restraints and things like that.
That's crazy because law school isn't easy.
No,
right?
it's not. It's not, but it was so worth it. But I think if you're young and you want to get into politics, I think also getting into it through your school, but also in your town. So there's options within your town. I know there's a lot of liaisons, with the school committee. You have a student on the school committee, which is important because you guys are here every single day. You know what goes on.
Yeah.
We as adults may think we know what's going on,
Right.
but you guys definitely are the ones here living it.
Yeah.
But I also think getting involved in actively, if you are interested in a political career or maybe even just public government itself and maybe not an elected position, intern. I mean, we're always hosting internships within our office. I had a junior over the summer intern in my office from Whitman, so it's not restricted to just college students or above. It's, I'm very open to have those fresh ideas as we talk about, the younger generation. I think it's so important we listen to you as well.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, great.
Yeah,
that was an
of course.
awesome interview.
Thank you. I appreciate you guys having me.
Thanks for watching. Tune in Friday to see a brand new episode of Movie Time with Matt and Derek.
Make sure to follow us on our Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube at the Green Wave Gazette.
Thanks for watching.
Goodbye.
Wow.